Over on Fusion 360, I measured from here over to here. So from the cowling line to the floor is 19.775, basically 19 3/4 of an inch, and make a story stick that's 19.775 inches. This top cowling right here isn't really useful anymore, so we're going to unscrew it and use this material to make the 3 cowlings. So basically, I'm going to measure 19.775 inches from the floor, mark it out, and then that's where the pieces will end. I'm gonna use some blue tape, this technically is blue tape, to mark 19 inches from the bottom. One of the super cool things about tape measures is that they have this tab that moves ever so slightly. So this moves about 1/16 of an inch, and this piece of metal right here is 1/16 of an inch. And so if you press it into a corner, you get an accurate measurement, and if you pull it out 1/16 of an inch to measure something, you're also going to get the exact measurement. So that's really cool. So 19.75 inches is right here, and I'll go mark that with the tape on all the sides, so it gives us a reference. It's going to be annoying to align everything off of these little tiny marks, so I'm going to use some duct tape and mark it off. I'm using duct tape because the amount of people who return my blue tape is a lot lower than the amount who use it. We have our 3 markings here, and we can try our best to cut a piece of cowling this size. A 24-inch by 30-inch sheet of this square stuff should be plenty to get us started and kind of try to make a shape. Even if it doesn't look pretty, in future versions we're going to use plywood that we can basically trace the shapes that aren't pretty and make them pretty with plywood and wood filler and stuff. We're gonna figure it out together. This stuff does not cut very well. I really don't want to work with this stuff in the future. It's not the best material. It's really flaky, kind of like my calendar. It's really flaky, kind of like my hair. What should I joke about? I have a perfect opportunity, but sheets like this are much easier to manage because they're a lot smaller. So you can easily like bend them, cut them, form them. I think it was just basically pure stupidity for me to try to get a 30-inch by 4-foot piece of this material stuff all bent and formed to the right shape. Basically, we need to make this piece of wood right here kind of curve into a cylinder-ish. So that'll be a little interesting. I'm gonna get a piece of cardboard and actually cut around it so that it's the rough shape of the base. Basically, most of our concern is right here. We really want to make sure that this bottom curve is as good as we can get it, because the other sides ultimately don't matter. This top side right here is going to be a straight line, and then the other sides I'm actually just going to clip off with a router, so they'll be flush to this surface. I won't have to do any fancy math or anything here. I made this piece of cardboard right here. The idea is that it fits and it covers all of the bases, kind of. It fits to the simulator, and I think it should work. What I did here was I basically just guessed and checked. In fact, I think I need to check a little more. But basically, there are 3 points, and we need to curve them in between. So as long as we get the first point and the third point right, we can figure out the middle point, and then the middle point, it looks like it just needs ½ an inch more, or something like this, maybe. Oh, that's embarrassing, I totally missed. Yeah, so we're just gonna mark it where it should go to, about, and it actually looks pretty nice. I have to say. Well, yeah, I have to say because I'm the person who made the video. But basically, if it hits this point, and then hits the ending point, it'll wrap around right here. So I find these cardboard models are pretty helpful for things like this where I'm not quite sure and I don't really know how to do it. Also, cut away from yourself. I think that's a safety thing. Cut away from yourself towards your friends. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this edge. I'm gonna make sure this is about square with the edge, or one of the edges. The other edge won't be square. It doesn't ultimately matter because again, we're gonna trim this off with the router bit, but I do wanna just use some precaution. We're gonna cut around this with the jigsaw. These we're not gonna cut. These are just for reference. I should have done them dotted or something. I'm using a very aggressive, fast cutting wood bit on this very stubborn, thin, who knows what, fiberglass stuff. I'd probably even recommend just getting some scrap wood and clamping it on each side of the board just so it doesn't flex as much. And that seems to help quite a bit, but of course I'm probably not going to do it because I'm a little lazy. See how it goes? And it looks like it's probably going to do pretty okay.
Okay, that was so stupid.
It's a little tricky to get all of these clamps on 100%, but I think one thing I can do is use some Clecos. Clecos look like this. They're very fun, and you stick them into a hole that's drilled the correct size, and they stick. They're used for sheet metal, especially in the aviation industry, but I'm going to use them for sheet, whatever the heck fiberglassy thing this is, and wood. They actually stick pretty well, and you'll be surprised they don't want to come out. Just like people after the coronavirus. Once you press the button, it comes out super easily. And you'll notice it doesn't want to... Oh, oops. Okay. Shh. Pretty neat, huh? So I'm gonna drill some 1/8 inch holes through where I know that's gonna go, and then I can adjust the clamps from there. Down here is one of the only places I know it really needs to go. This is a pivot point. It basically determines how much it needs to go side to side, so I can go ahead and drill it.
If you haven't fallen asleep yet, you'll probably notice I'm doing all of my screwing from the bottom right corner. This is probably actually incorrect. When you're doing sheet goods where you kind of want to like pull everything out to the sides, you want to start in the middle bottom, in this case especially, and work your way out. That just makes sure that you have everything tight instead of kind of bunching up near the end. Okay, back to the video.
Ta-da! This is the first Cleco. As I told you, these are for sheet metal in aircraft and not plywood in simulators, especially the end grain, so use some care with them.
I wouldn't recommend wiggling them side to side because that actually breaks the fibers of the plywood and the hole becomes bigger than 1/8 of an inch. Shouldn't be too big of a problem though, so I don't know, to each their own.
Right here you can see that even if this curve tries its very best to conform to all three profiles, it just can't. It won't. It refuses. So what we need to do is make a compound curve. With materials like this and plywood, you can't really stretch or shrink things easily. So you have to cut and paste, basically. I'm gonna find basically the midpoint of this curve, kind of where a line would be tangent to it, if that makes sense. And then draw a line from there. We drew this line, and we can actually cut from here, this front section, to basically this second section. Why are we only doing this from the first profile to the second profile? Well, you see, the second to the third profile actually works pretty well. It's not really a compound curve, so we're not going to worry about it too much.
Clamp sandwich.
So the name of the game right here is going to be to get these two to warp to their positions and then kind of intersect with each other. We're gonna clamp it all down as best we can, kind of maybe even use some clecos, because those are just so fun to say. And then we can clamp these together. This is the basic concept behind this. We're gonna see if we can't also get this to look a little prettier. But basically, you have two layers like this that overlap a little. We can rivet them together here if we want to, or we can glue them together flush. However we want to do that. I'm gonna trace where it goes so we'll know for next time. This whole sheet metal, sheet good process has been really interesting for me to learn about, so I've made a blog post in the link in the description below. If you want to watch all of the Cessna 172 videos, you can go to this playlist right here, and if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so right here. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantabulous day. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.